The story begins with a glimpse into the life of Ellen Hutter. Desperate for comfort, she calls out to anyone who might hear her, whether it be God, a guardian angel, or some other force. To her surprise, her call is answered. A terrifying voice responds, though the face behind it remains unseen, visible only to Ellen. This mysterious being tells her that she has pulled him out of the darkness and that now he can walk among humans. Whatever this being is, it is clear it is not human. Ellen, drawn in by the encounter, makes a pact with a powerful and evil demonic entity, Nosferatu. Once the ritual is complete, the demonic vampire has an intimate encounter with her before choking her by the throat, completing the possession. The next scene reveals that it was all just a dream. Ellen wakes in a cold sweat, still shaken by what she experienced. The year is 1838, in a German town called Wisborg. Ellen is now married to a real estate agent named Thomas Hutter. He quickly notices her distress, hugs her passionately, and reassures her that there is nothing to be afraid of. However, he soon realizes he is running late and says his goodbye before heading out for work. Ellen, still unsettled by the nightmare, is left alone with her thoughts, unable to shake the feeling that something is deeply wrong. At work, Thomas apologizes to his boss, Herr Knock, for arriving late. Knock congratulates him on his recent marriage and wastes no time getting to business. He informs Thomas that he wants him to finalize a deal with an eccentric and reclusive client, Count Orlok, from the Carpathian Mountains of Transylvania, who wishes to purchase the largest mansion in Wisborg. Aiming for financial security and hoping the deal will earn him a promotion, Thomas readily accepts. Later that day, Thomas returns home and tells Ellen about the journey he must take. The moment she hears this, she becomes visibly upset and pleads with him not to go. She confesses that before their wedding, she had a horrific nightmare in which she married death itself, with only dead boys in attendance. She also warns him of a recurring dream she has had since childhood, of a terrifying figure who claimed her long before Thomas ever knew her. Thomas, though concerned, reassures her that these are only dreams and insists he must go for the sake of their future. The next day, Thomas takes Ellen to stay with his wealthy friend Friedrich Harding and his wife Anna while he is away. He comforts her once more, promising that she has nothing to fear. That night, Ellen's nightmare returns. Nosferatu consolidates the pact she made with him, strengthening his hold over her. The following morning before Thomas departs, Ellen gives him her necklace. Unbeknownst to him, she had cut a strand of her hair the night before and placed it inside, unknowingly fulfilling one of Nosferatu's requirements. After a long journey, Thomas arrives in Transylvania, where the townspeople welcome him warmly at first. Their cheerful demeanor soon turns strange, however, and they begin laughing in an eerie and unsettling manner. The town chief steps outside and scolds them for their behavior, but warns Thomas against associating with Count Orlok. Despite the warning, Thomas bribes the chief and convinces him to let him stay one night. That same night, an old woman presses a cross into his hand, insisting that he will need it. Later, Thomas witnesses the townspeople performing a disturbing ritual. They lead a naked woman on horseback to a graveyard where they stab a corpse they claim belongs to a vampire. Terrified by what he has seen, Thomas goes to bed, half convinced it was all a dream. The next morning he realizes it was not, and continues his journey regardless. As Thomas travels toward the castle, a mysterious horse-drawn carriage appears out of nowhere. Although no one is driving it, he gathers his courage and boards it. The carriage races toward Count Orlok's fortress with wolves running alongside it. Upon arrival, Thomas is received by the impatient and imposing count, whose face is partially hidden in shadow, but whose presence is immediately unsettling. Orlok remarks coldly on how late Thomas is and insists they dine together to finalize the purchase without delay. During the meal, he offers Thomas wine and dismisses the strange rumors Thomas has heard from the locals as mere superstition. As Thomas eats, he accidentally cuts his thumb, causing it to bleed. Orlok, instantly drawn to the scent of blood, fixes his gaze on the wound and begins acting strangely. Thomas senses that something is terribly wrong, but his realization comes too late. Orlok reveals his true nature and attacks him. Meanwhile, back in Wisborg, Ellen desperately tries to warn Anna about a looming danger, but Anna dismisses her concerns, convinced that Ellen is imagining things. Back at the castle, Thomas, now unconscious, has a strange dream. In this state, Orlok forces him to sign a mysterious document written in an occult language belonging to the Count's forefathers. Thomas signs without understanding a word of it. Orlok then retrieves Thomas's locket and removes Ellen's hair from inside, using it to forge a deeper supernatural connection to her. Satisfied, he presents Thomas with a chest of gold coins as payment. When Thomas wakes and asks to leave, believing the deal is complete, Orlok coldly informs him that returning home is no longer an option. As Thomas regains his senses, he notices strange bite marks on his chest and realizes Orlok has fed on him. Panic sets in. He searches the castle desperately, but every door leading outside is locked. Venturing deeper into the dark corridors, he eventually discovers a lower chamber where he finds Orlok sleeping inside a coffin. Seizing the opportunity, Thomas grabs an axe and attempts to strike the vampire down, but before he can deliver the fatal blow, Orlok awakens and stops him. Terrified, Thomas flees. Orlok then takes Ellen's hair and begins chanting an incantation. As the ritual progresses, Ellen, far away in Wisborg, feels its effects and begins to weaken. Thomas finds himself compelled by Orlok's power to unlock a door he had previously secured. His body freezes and he cannot resist. Orlok attacks him again, feeding on him ruthlessly and further asserting his dominance over him. Back at Friederik's house, Ellen's condition deteriorates rapidly. She suffers from seizures and strange trance-like episodes that leave her moaning and barely conscious. Concerned, Friederik calls Dr. Wilhelm to examine her. Wilhelm sedates her, but her condition only worsens. He warns Friederik gravely that the devil's presence is near and eventually recommends transferring her to his mentor, Albin Eberhard von Franz, an ostracized scientist in Switzerland renowned for his expertise in the occult. Meanwhile, Thomas manages to escape the castle by throwing himself from a window, plummeting into a river below. A nun later finds him unconscious on the riverbank and carries him to a nearby church where she and the other nuns pray over him. Slowly, Thomas regains consciousness. Though they urge him to rest, he refuses. "I must return to Wisborg. Ellen is in danger," he insists. Dr. Wilhelm and Friederik travel to Switzerland, where Professor Albin welcomes them and listens carefully as Wilhelm describes Ellen's worsening condition. After examining her case, Albin immediately recognizes the cause. Ellen is under the spell of Nosferatu, a demonic, plague-bearing vampire. Determined to uncover the truth, Albin challenges the entity to reveal itself. Ellen becomes possessed, her body convulsing violently as Orlok speaks through her. Her screams fill the room. Albin turns to Friederik and declares that Ellen is cursed. Wilhelm remains skeptical, insisting she is merely delusional, while Friederik suspects her suffering is tied to Thomas's absence. Before leaving, Albin instructs Anna to watch over Ellen closely and to summon him if anything changes. Thomas finally returns to Wisborg and tells Ellen that she was right. Her nightmares were real. Shortly after, he collapses into unconsciousness. That same night, guards arrive at Friederik's home with grim news. A ghostly ship has wrecked upon Wisborg's shore. It is Orlok's vessel, the Demeter. During the voyage, Orlok had emerged from his coffin and killed the crew one by one. And by the time the ship reached port, no one on board was left alive. With it came a swarm of plague-infested rats, marking the beginning of an unholy pandemic. By morning, the streets of Wisborg have descended into chaos. Orlok, now in Wisborg, reunites with his devoted servant Nock, who bows before his master. Orlok proclaims that the land shall know dread and despair. Nock, who had already descended into madness, catching rats and birds and devouring them alive, growing increasingly violent, grins with anticipation. The plague spreads rapidly through the city, claiming lives and gripping the streets with fear. Ellen remains by Thomas's side as he lies gravely ill. Anna visits and apologizes for having dismissed Ellen's warnings. "I should have listened," she whispers. Meanwhile, Dr. Wilhelm and Albin examine the bodies recovered from Orlok's wrecked ship and make a horrifying discovery. The rats are not ordinary. They are demonic. There is no blood left in the bodies. Albin demands to find Nock at once, but Nock has already escaped. That night, Orlok chants a dark incantation, calling forth a deeper darkness upon the land. Thomas, feverish and weak, thrashes in his sleep and jolts awake. Orlok has spoken to him in a vision. Downstairs, Anna feels the creeping sensation of being watched. When she turns, she is startled to find Ellen standing there, her eyes vacant, pleading softly, "Stay with me tonight." In his study, Albin makes a chilling announcement to the townsfolk. Wisborg is facing Nosferatu, the undead plague-bearer. Most dismiss his claims, preferring to blame the rats. That night, Ellen is pulled into another nightmare. A shadow looms over her, and a voice, ancient and chilling, whispers, "You are not of humankind. I have been lying in the deepest darkness, and you, my dear, have awakened me." Orlok tries once more to deceive her, claiming that Thomas willingly signed divorce papers in exchange for gold. Ellen does not believe him. She sees through his lies. When she refuses to submit to his will, Orlok threatens to take Thomas's life. Upon waking, Ellen is met with a horrifying sight. Orlok's plague-infested rats have already feasted on Anna. She screams in shock and grief. The epidemic has spread like wildfire, forcing the entire city into quarantine. Anna, barely clinging to life, begins exhibiting the symptoms of the plague. Friederik stays by her side, offering comfort in her final moments. Afterward, still struggling to accept that a demon is behind the chaos, he turns on Ellen and Thomas, suspecting them as the source of the infection and demanding they leave his house at once. Furious, Ellen storms away. Meanwhile, in Nock's abandoned office, Albin discovers an ancient insignia etched into the wall, one that has long foretold the coming of Nosferatu. Ellen and Thomas return home, but their reunion is far from peaceful. Thomas begs Ellen desperately to leave the cursed city with him. Ellen tells him it is too late. She finally confesses the secret she has carried for years. Long before she married Thomas, she had summoned the devil himself as a lonely, frightened child with psychic abilities, mistaking him for a guardian angel. She had prayed to him for comfort without realizing she was calling upon a demonic entity. They had been bound together ever since, their connection only severed in part by her marriage. She accuses Thomas of caring more about money than their safety and reminds him of the document he signed for Orlok. Their argument grows heated, but before Ellen can say more, she begins convulsing violently. Her body stiffens and her voice turns unnatural. She has been possessed by Nosferatu. Thomas attempts to flee for help, but Ellen, now controlled by the entity, commands him to stay. With an eerie authority, she orders him to lie with her. Unable to resist the force compelling him, he obeys. When it is over, Ellen collapses, regaining consciousness as though waking from a terrible dream, confused and frightened. That night, Orlok makes his presence known once more. In a ruthless display of power, he slaughters Friedrich's children, leaving the man utterly broken. As he buries his family, grief consumes him, and he can no longer deny the truth. Nosferatu is real. Drowning in madness and despair, Friedrich commits an unspeakable act, defiling his wife's corpse before succumbing to the plague himself. By the time the others arrive, he is already dead. His body and those of his family are set ablaze to stop the disease from spreading further. Albin, seeing no other way forward, proposes a plan to finally end Orlok's reign. From his years of occult research, he has learned that Nosferatu can only be truly vanquished in one of two ways, either through the willing sacrifice of a pure-hearted woman or by being lured into the sunlight, which will destroy him. Either way, Ellen is the only one who can achieve this. She alone has the connection to draw him out. Ellen, fully aware of her fate, agrees. She devises her plan carefully. She will invite Orlok to her, surrender herself to him willingly, and keep him bound to her long enough for dawn to break. Meanwhile, the others, Thomas, Albin, and Wilhelm, set out to locate Orlok's resting place and destroy it. They eventually find a coffin they believe to be his. Thomas opens it and plunges a blade downward, but as the blood seeps out, lying inside, grinning with bloody teeth, is Nock. The entire expedition was a diversion. Thomas realizes it instantly and runs back to save Ellen. Albin, meanwhile, whispers ancient prayers before setting the crypt ablaze, ensuring no remnants of Orlok's unholy presence remain. Back at the manor, Orlok arrives to claim his bride. Ellen is waiting for him, dressed in her wedding gown. With unwavering resolve, she accepts the dark vows he recites. As the ritual is completed, she surrenders fully, allowing him to feast upon her as they consummate their unholy union. But as the first pale light of dawn begins to seep through the windows, Orlok feels something is wrong. A strange weakness creeps through his body. His immortal flesh begins to wither and decay. He lets out a tormented scream as his existence unravels, collapsing into a lifeless husk in Ellen's arms, disintegrating into ash. Thomas arrives moments later, breathless, only to find Ellen fading. He kneels beside her and takes her hand. She looks at him with a serene expression, knowing what she has done. With her sacrifice, the plague ends, having destroyed Nosferatu forever and freed the city from his curse.